Good morning. We are going to discuss regarding pharmacokinetics. The first aspect of pharmacokinetics, as we have already discussed earlier, is drug absorption. So, the important parameter that describes drug absorption is bioavailability, and this is very important as far as the examination is concerned. And from a pharmacological point of view, also, this is very important parameter that should be known by the student. So, we are going to learn about the definition, the bioavailability of different routes, types of bioavailability, that is the absolute bioavailability and the relative bioavailability, and finally, the factors affecting the bioavailability. So we are describing the absorption as the movement of the drug from its site of administration into the circulation. So we all know that the drug, from wherever it is administered, it has to eventually reach the circulation. So this is showing the different routes of drug administration, which you have already learned: oral, uh, percutaneous, intravenous, intramuscular, and so on. So wherever the administration is, it is the drug is to finally reach the blood circulation. So, how do we define bioavailability? So, bioavailability is the rate and extent of absorption of a drug from a dosage form as determined by its concentration time curve in blood. So, you have to give importance to certain terms here: rate and extent of absorption. That's the first thing that you have to concentrate on. So bioavailability is defining the rate as well as the extent of absorption of a drug from any dosage form. Any dosage form means it can be tablets, it can be injection. So any dosage form. And how is it determined? It is determined by the concentration time curve in the blood. So we are going to plot a graph which is having the concentration, the drug concentration on the y-axis and the time on the x-axis. So I'll show you in the next slide what the plasma concentration time curve is. Okay, so at this point, we have to remember the definition of bioavailability. In other words, you can say that it is a measure of the fraction of the administered dose of a drug that reaches the systemic circulation in the unchanged form. This is another definition of bioavailability. So, whenever you are administering a drug, it is not that if everything that you're administering is reaching the circulation in unchanged form. There will be metabolism that is occurring to the drug on the way to absorption into circulation. So, we are trying to measure the fraction of the administered dose that reaches the systemic circulation eventually in the unchanged form. So, for example, you might be administering 500 milligram of the drug paracetamol, but it is not that the entire 500 milligram is going to reach the systemic circulation. Okay, there is only a certain amount of the drug that is reaching the circulation in the unchanged form, and that is defined by the bioavailability. So we can say bioavailable fraction, the bioavailability is the bioavailable dose divided by the administered dose. The bioavailable fraction, as denoted by F, is equal to bioavailable dose. That is the dose that is available in the systemic circulation in the unchanged form, divided by the total administered dose. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. That is the plasma concentration versus time curve. So you can see that we are plotting a graph here where the plasma concentration is on the y-axis and the time is on the x-axis. So at 0 time, you can see the plasma concentration of the drug will be 0 because we have not administered any drug. With time, the drug absorption happens, and you can see that the concentration of the drug in the blood reaches a peak concentration, and that is called as a C max. The time in which the C max is attained is called as a T max. And after some time, the concentration of the drug in the plasma will fall because of metabolism and excretion. So the rate of absorption is determined by the C max and the T max, and the area, that is the area that is seen under the curve, the gray area, is determining the extent of absorption. So this is what I was telling you earlier, that bioavailability is the rate and extent of absorption as determined by the concentration time curve in the blood. So this is the different routes, and the next column shows the bioavailability by different routes. So you can see that the intravenous route is giving 100% bioavailability, because whatever we are administering through the IV route is reaching the systemic circulation in the unchanged form. There is no metabolism that is occurring on the path. Okay, intramuscular and subcutaneous, it is nearly 100%, but it's not 100%. Oral bioavailability, any drug that is given orally will never have 100% bioavailability because of mainly two reasons. One, first one is that there might be incomplete absorption from the GIT. And second thing is that there may be metabolism occurring in the GIT and in the liver before the drug reaches the systemic circulation. That type of metabolism is called as the pre-systemic metabolism or the first pass metabolism. Okay, this means that the metabolism is occurring before the drug reaches the systemic circulation. That happens in the GIT or in the liver. But the main metabolism by which the action of the drug decreases or ends is mainly occurring in the liver after the drug reaches the systemic circulation and is distributed in different parts of the body. But this kind of metabolism which is occurring before the drug reaches the systemic circulation is called as the first pass metabolism. The first pass metabolism always determines the bioavailability. If the first pass metabolism of a drug is high, then the bioavailability of the drug will be low. If the first pass metabolism of a drug is low, then the bioavailability of the drug will be high. Okay, so now let us see the difference between absolute and relative bioavailability. So absolute bioavailability is defined as the systemic availability of a drug administered orally compared to its IV administration. So here you are comparing the bioavailability of the oral form of that drug versus the bioavailability when it is administered IV. So you already know by this time that the IV administration of any drug will produce 100% bioavailability. So we are trying to compare the oral bioavailability. That means how much amount of that drug will be available if the drug is given by the oral route. Now, for example, if I say the absolute bioavailability of drug A is 95%, this means that if you give the drug by the oral route, the drug, 95% of the drug is reaching the systemic circulation in the unchanged form. Okay. But if I say that a drug B is having an absolute bioavailability of 5%, it means that when you're giving that particular drug by the oral route, only 5% is reaching by the into the systemic circulation, which means that there is no point of giving that drug by the oral route. You have to only choose an IV route for that particular drug, because if you give it by oral route, you will only get 5% of it. So absolute bioavailability is helping you to understand the route of administration, whether you should give it orally or whether you should just stick on to the IV route of the drug. Now, relative bioavailability is comparing the systemic availability of a non-IV route of a drug with an oral standard of the same drug. Here, what are we comparing? We are comparing the non-IV route, maybe oral route only, with a oral bioavailability of a standard of the same drug. So, for all the drugs, okay, a standard formulation is there, which is preserved in the central lab. Okay, which is located at Lucknow. Now, I told you in the previous class that many companies are manufacturing the same drug. So, paracetamol will be manufactured by different companies. The bioavailability of different drugs, different the brands of the same drug might be different. Okay, and this is what we are doing in relative bioavailability. We are trying to compare the bioavailability of different brands with the oral standard of the same drug. Okay, so we don't want too much of a difference in bioavailability of one brand with the standard. If there is a difference of more than 25% between the standard and the brand, then we cannot consider it as bioequivalent, and we may not be getting the benefit from that particular brand. So at this point, you should know that all the brands are not comparable. This is why we say that I was getting the effect from this brand, but I was not getting the effect from the other brand, because the bioavailability differences, because the bioavailability differences. The relative bioavailability is also called as bioequivalence. Now we shift on to the factors affecting the absorption and bioavailability. So in the question paper, if you get factors affecting absorption or factors affecting bioavailability, the answer is the same. Okay, now here I'm going to discuss very briefly about the factors. As you proceed further in pharmacology, you will understand all these factors in detail. But at this point, since you're only starting the general pharmacology, I'll be only discussing it very, very briefly with you. So the factors can be divided into two parts. That is, first is the physiochemical properties of the drug, and the second type of factors are the biological or the pharmacological factors. Under the physiochemical properties of the drug, you have the physical state of the drug. So you know that for any drug to get absorbed, it is now first disintegrated, then it is dissolved, and then it gets absorbed. So obviously, the solid dosage forms will have lower bioavailability as compared to the liquid formulations, because liquids are absorbed faster as compared to the solid forms, which require disintegration and then dissolution. Then you know that lipid soluble drugs are usually absorbed faster and than the water soluble drugs. Okay, now the particle size also matters. If the particle size of a drug is smaller, because of the larger surface area, it gets absorbed faster. So there are many formulations where the drug is micronized to increase the surface area and increase the absorption. In the salt form of the drug, the amorphous forms are are absorbed faster as compared to the crystalline form, because the crystalline forms have to be first converted into the solution and then only absorbed, but the amorphous forms can be absorbed faster. Now, I think we have already discussed about the ionization and pH in the chapter on membrane transport. But just remember that unionized drugs are not absorbed, whereas unionized drugs are easily absorbed, whereas the ionized weak ions do not cross the membranes and are not absorbed. Remember that weakly acidic drugs are absorbed at acidic pH, that is at the stomach, and the basic drugs are absorbed at the basic pH. This is because in the acidic drugs, they remain unionized at the acidic pH and hence are absorbed. The same drugs will become ionized in the basic pH and will not be absorbed. The reverse happens with the basic drugs. Now, the nature of excipients that are there in the drugs. So when you have a tablet, it is not just the drug that is there in the tablet. There will be maybe many other things are added onto the tablet as binding agents or as filling material. And these are supposed to be non-active or inert substances, and these are called as the excipients, which are just added to the active ingredient as binding agents or to obtain proper granular size or as filling materials. But they can sometimes change the bioavailability of drugs like phenytoin, digoxin, levodopa, and warfarin. Okay, and these nature of excipients can also sometimes change from company to company, and that can also bring about changes in the bioavailabilities in different brands. The stereochemical nature of the drug can also influence the bioavailability. The L isomer and D isomer may have different bioavailabilities. Now we come to the pharmacological factors. The first one is the route of administration. So already we have discussed that the IV route has got the highest bioavailability. Then the next factor is age. Again, when you study the factors affecting drug action, you will understand the effect of age on the different pharmacokinetic parameters. The difference is mainly seen at extremes of ages, that is in the infants and elderly, and they have alteration in different physiological parameters which can change the bioavailability in both these age groups. The gastric emptying time also affects bioavailability. If there is a delayed gastric emptying, that means there will be delayed absorption and vice versa. This will increase the bioavailability of drugs which are absorbed from the stomach, because the drugs will be remaining in the stomach for a longer time, and that will increase the absorption from the stomach. Now, increased intestinal transit will increase the drug absorption and bioavailability of basic drugs, because they are absorbed mainly from the intestine, and if they remain in the intestine for a long time, they can increase the bioavailability. So food can also increase the um, bioavailability in some cases. And for example, there are food which increases the bioavailability, increases the absorption and the bioavailability, and there are foods which decrease the bioabsorption of certain drugs. So I've given you some examples here. Milk and milk products decrease the absorption and hence the bioavailability of tetracycline. On the other hand, fatty meals increase the absorption of glycophyllin and hence increases its bioavailability. Now, presence of other drugs also can interfere with the absorption of the drugs. They can either increase or decrease the absorption of drugs. Again, gastrointestinal diseases can also affect the bioavailability of the drugs. For example, in achlorhydria, a condition where there is less gastric acid, there is decrease in absorption of acidic drugs. In celiac disease, there is malabsorption of fats, and drugs like amoxicillin show decreased absorption in such cases. In hepatic diseases, what happens is that there is a decrease in the enzyme activity and there is decrease in the drug metabolism, which can decrease the first pass metabolism of drugs and hence increase the bioavailability of drugs. The area of the absorbing surface of the intestine also affects the bioavailability. More the area, more the absorption. If any condition requires the resection of the intestine, that can decrease the absorption and the bioavailability. The blood supply to the intestine also affects the bioavailability. If there is high perfusion of the GIT, that will ensure better absorption. If the blood supply to the intestine is decreasing because of age or other diseases, then it can affect the absorption or bioavailability of the drugs. Again, pharmacogenetic factors can also affect bioavailability. Different races can show different bioavailability of drugs. And as already mentioned about the first pass metabolism, that is first pass metabolism, higher the first pass metabolism, lesser the bioavailability and vice versa. So drugs like nitroglycerin, it is having a high first pass metabolism and so it will have a low oral bioavailability. So such drugs, preferably we should give it by the IV route or by the sublingual route, because sublingual route also bypasses the first pass metabolism. So what is the importance of bioavailability? So this bioavailability is mainly carrying significance for drugs which are having a low safety margin. Because if suddenly, if you, the bioavailability changes, the absorption of such drugs changes, the drug can reach a toxic level. Again, drugs with non-linear pharmacokinetics, which you have not studied at this point, even for those drugs, the bioavailability considerations are important. And as I already told you, it is important to decide the route of administration. If the absolute bioavailability is very less, we cannot prefer the oral route. We have to go for an IV route or other routes like sublingual route. And also we can sometimes use bioavailability to decide the dose of the drug. Like, for example, in the case of oral hypoglycemics, blood anti-hypertensive medications, we cannot keep on changing the brand. We have to stick on to the same brand, because if we change the brand, it can bring about a change in the bioavailability, and that can affect the control of the disease. So this is about the importance of bioavailability. So the type of question that you're going to get in this from this chapter is mainly a short note on bioavailability. And whenever you are writing a short note on bioavailability, you have to write the definition of the bioavailability. Two definitions I have given you. Then the next one is you have to draw the graph, plasma concentration time curve, and show the rate and extent of absorption. And then you have to define absolute bioavailability, relative bioavailability, show the bioavailability by different routes, IV route, oral route, subcutaneous, and other routes. Then discuss the different factors affecting bioavailability. This is the content for the short note on bioavailability. Thank you.